story tonight, microplastics. They're in our rivers, our oceans, and even in our facial scrubs. We've all seen photographs of fish trapped in six-pack holders, seagulls eating garbage in landfills overflowing with plastics. But a rising concern to our scientific and environmental community is what these plastics eventually turn into.
Microplastics are small plastics particles that range from 0.039 to 0.197 inches. They come from a variety of sources such as industries, clothing, and cosmetics. Normal to large-sized plastics cause problems of marine animals suffocating, becoming entangled, and ingesting the plastics. Research has been mainly focused on larger plastics. Microplastics can come from larger plastics that have disintegrated over time. So we ask, are microplastics too small to cause harm to marine animals? Here to answer that question is Dr. Fisher from the University of Ponderosa Valley.
The effects that microplastics are having on the marine organisms are becoming extensive. As the microplastics enter the water system and find their way to oceans, they settle on the ocean floor. Marine debris and microplastics can enter the ocean in a variety of ways. Primary microplastics are the plastics that are manufactured to be microscopic size. They are usually used in facial cleansers and cosmetics or in air blasting technology. Most larger plastics become brittle when exposed to ultraviolet light and break down into smaller and smaller pieces, resulting in secondary microplastics. It is estimated that roughly 245 metric tons of plastics are introduced into the environment each year.
How do these plastics end up in the ocean?
If plastic objects make it into the main sewer system by being flushed down the toilet or carried by the rain into the street drain, quite often those floating objects can float down into the rivers and right out to sea. Current research suggests that most commonly used plastics will never fully degrade in the ocean. When plastics reach our waters, whether it be plastic bags or drifting fish nets, it poses a threat to the animals that depend on the ocean for food.
Dr. Fisher, what type of animals are affected by this pollution?
Smaller marine organisms, including bottom feeders such as sea cucumbers as well as crustaceans, ingest microplastics thinking they are food. This causes a series of complications with these organisms, such as blockages or damages in their digestive tract. Leaching of chemicals also occurs after digestion. As these marine organisms consume microplastics, they begin to feel full. But as these plastics provide no nutritional value, the animals eventually starve to death. Microplastics that enter the food chain through smaller organisms will eventually reach us humans, as we rely on fish and crustaceans as a prime source of protein. Ingesting organisms with leached plastic chemicals in them will introduce toxins into the food chain.
To help us understand where microplastics come from, here we go now to our field correspondent, Brooke.
Thank you, Tom. While the use of plastic materials has generated huge societal benefits, the plastic age comes with downsides. One issue of emerging concern is the accumulation of plastics in the aquatic environment. Plastics are present in every major ocean basin, concentrated in regions that should be pristine environments far from sources of pollution on land. Scientists have only recently realized how widespread microplastic pollution is, so the research on its effects has only really just begun. What we do know, there's a lot of it, it's everywhere, and it's not going to go away. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Brooke. As this issue continues to grow, it is evident that there is more research needed on the issue of microplastics harming marine animals.
That's right, Juliana. I suspect we'll be following this story for generations to come. That concludes our news hour. I'm Thomas Batty.
And I'm Juliana Brooker.
Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for a brand new episode of Honey Boo Boo. Good night.